Okay. The pasta guy, Patrick Goulardi. Thank you. We messed up for that now.
Hey, come on, give me a hand.
I'll give you the 1 minute warning when you're getting close to 6.
All right, I appreciate that. Well, folks, thanks for coming and sharing your time with me. I appreciate it. I've got an idea that is not new, but I think it's an idea that nobody's paying attention to. I've been in the restaurant business, a little bit about myself. I've been in the restaurant business for over 20 years. Most of the time, it's been in the fine dining section of the restaurants. And I've got experience in fast casual, fast food, and Michelin level restaurants. Traveled around the country and I've cooked for some really, really talented people. The one thing that I've learned in the restaurant business is that you really have to pay attention to what you're doing because it's a very slippery slope. All right? And one of those slopes is having way too much inventory, number one, for restaurants. How many times you go to a restaurant, you sit down in the restaurant and you have to read a book to decide what you want to eat? On a psychological level, that's actually a negative. People really don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. They just want to come in and sit down and get a decent meal and not really think about it. Well, a lot of Italian restaurants don't follow that principle, if you've not noticed. You can go to an Italian restaurant and you've got to peruse through a book of over 100 ingredients or 100 items on the menu. Now, you're just going to spend 15 bucks on a plate of food. You need to read a book, you know? So the bottom line is, the way I believe is, do a few things exceptional. Don't try to do a whole bunch of things that is average, okay? So, I need my glasses. So, in 1996, I was in Chicago working at Charlie Trout's, and I was living in an apartment by the lake in a neighborhood called Lincoln Park. And in Lincoln Park, there also happened to be a restaurant startup 6 months prior to me getting there called the Pasta Bowl. So on my day off, I decided to go in and check it out because, as you know, in fine dining, if anybody's worked in fine dining, how great the money is. So I'm looking for a great way to find, you know, on my days off, something decent to eat other than fast food. So I walk in, I go to check them out, and I'm pleasantly surprised because what I see is a model that works very well. And if taken to the next level, has great margins. All right. Most Italian restaurants, most restaurants have, like I said, way too much inventory. The more inventory you have means more money locked up in your walk-in, on your shelves, and all you're doing is hoping to get rid of it because it's like anything, you don't want to get caught holding anything. So what you have to do is you've got to minimize the risk of what you're holding on to, and how you do that is to find out what people like. In the restaurant business, I've found that there's one thing that's always on the menu that holds a lot more weight than other things. So if anybody's been involved in planning a menu or being in the restaurant business, you know that there's always one question as you come up with the menu. That question is, what kind of pasta are we going to have? So if a pasta has that much weight involved in putting itself on a menu, then there's got to be something there. You look at your pizza joints. They're going to try to sell you pasta. You look across the board, there's pasta everywhere, but nobody's focusing on just pasta. Why? Olive Garden has a ton of stuff on their menu. All of the competitors have a ton of stuff on their menu. My goal is to open up the pasta cafe, and we're just doing pasta. That's it. Our inventory is 80% dried pasta, 20% fresh. We're going to have a couple panini sandwiches, we're going to have some salads, and we're going to have appetizers, okay? But the overhead is dried pasta, right? So let's open up a restaurant that we serve pasta, We've got 15 or 16 different types of pasta. And everything is at the same price point as fast food. You go to McDonald's, you're going to spend $8. Burger King. Go to Panera, you're going to spend 12 to 15. People are spending it. Hardee's realized that when they reopened their model, because they realized that people want quality over being cheap. So I say let's bridge the gap of both of that. Let's bring them quality, and I'm already at 1 minute. Seriously? Let's bring them quality along with it. So, sorry, this is my PowerPoint, guys. All right, so when you look at franchise costs, this is what you're looking at. Okay, you want to go into a restaurant that has a franchise. In McDonald's, you're going to spend $955,000 to $2.3 million. Burger King's looking for a 20-year franchise agreement. You also got to have $500,000 worth of equity, liquid assets, and you have to be worth at least $1.5 million before they're even going to talk to you. Panera Bread, you're looking at $35,000 for the franchise fee, and an investment to be a Panera Bread owner is $942,000 to $1.6 million. The margins that I have here are as good, if not better, than theirs. Okay? Is that my timer? You got Arby's, which is anywhere from $904,000 to $1 million. You got Sonic, $45,000 for the franchise fee, and you go up to $2.3 million. The Pasta Cafe concept is $330,000. Okay. The reason why it's only $330,000 is because with fast casual concepts, the reason for lower capital needed comparative to other restaurants, even fast food, is because casual needs less infrastructure. The money that you're paying when you get involved in these is because you're buying their infrastructure. You have to buy into them having somebody in a lab coming up with new dishes, them being able to contact you through the service. It's all integrated. That's where your money's going. This particular concept here, you're starting on the ground floor. And I say that it will be successful, and once it is, and I'm thinking that it is a franchisable model, we can pass that burden on to the franchisees when they come on. And it's really a simple process. Competitive analysis is that why not pasta and pizza has 118 items, Olive Garden is 97, Carrabba's 65, Menino's, who I used to cook with, is a great guy, got 54 on his. My closest competitor is Fazoli's at 33. I don't know if anybody's eating Fazoli's, but got hundreds of pizzas and pastas that are pizza joints that sell pasta. All right, let me know if I need to wrap it up. So
We don't have another presenter, so
okay.
just finish up.
Pasta Cafe has 28 items, and 80% of the items on the menu are going to be pasta, reducing the overall inventory and the product management. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there because I could keep going. I've got a huge business plan. So
Panda Express, I ate there for the first time the other day. And it was,
perfect example.
yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I
Perfect
mean, it's
example,
all
yep.
fresh, cooked right
Yep.
there in front of you. They only have about 8 entrees on there to choose from and a couple sides, and that's it. And again, very good, very healthy. So this seems very similar concept, but for
It is. It's all about managing the inventory. It's all about not overextending your finances and buying all kinds of things that is just going to sit on the shelf. You do it to order. And if you have to order almost every day, then you order every day. That's just the nature of the beast. And that's a great model. Just because everything's fresh, and like I said, it's at a perfect price point. That's where you want to be. Fine dining, when you walk into a restaurant and you sit down, if it has linen on the table, you know automatically it's at a certain price point. And I don't think that's where people are. I think the majority of people today are not there. They just want to get in and they want to grab good food. I've got, let's see here. Here's the menu right here. These are our appetizer costs. So we're looking at very inexpensive items made well. And the other thing about this price point going into this concept is that I don't need to hire, I've been in the fine dining sector. I don't need to hire people out of culinary school. I don't need to hire chefs. This is all, I can train high school students to do this. I've often said my best idea with this would be to put this outside every major college in the country. There's our workforce, there's our customers, I mean everything. This is just a win-win.
So have you, do you have a prototype that's out there? Have you already started one?
I have not started. I'm in the process of trying to get funding to do that. And this particular restaurant is in operation right now in Chicago. It's called the Pasta Bowl. I've been trying to, I came up with the Pasta Cafe because, you know, just trying to find the right name that's not copyrighted. So I think I've actually landed on one finally. But they make a ton of money doing this process. They've also branched off into caterings. They get a lot of their revenue comes in from takeout. It comes in through delivery. 2 years ago, they did $700,000 in catering in 1 year, just at lunchtime for pharmaceutical reps.
So what do you picture as square footage needs for these places? Are they out parcels? Are they part of a strip? Does it matter?
You know what? At first I thought that, just like any restaurateur, that you might want to have a stand-alone, you know, brick and mortar. But then as I do my research, I start to agree with commercial real estate agents who say that the best thing to be, or the best place to be, is inside a strip mall or a shopping center, because the more food-oriented places that are in the shopping center causes more of a draw, and you have more available of choices, so more people are going to go to that area.
There's really no barrier to entry for this business, and I think of like ramen places, and I think of other places with really, really simple menus. So what's it going to make? What's the value to me of giving you $330,000, other than just getting a place in a strip mall and putting together a fairly simple pasta menu? The
value to you is going to be the fact that you are going to be on the ground floor of something that could take off and possibly franchise in the future. The original idea here was the Pasta Pomodoro out in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
That gentleman turned around and sold what he had built. He ended up selling 49 units that were scattered from Northern California down through the South. He sold them to actually a subsidiary of Wendy's, who ended up purchasing it. And again, it's all about timing. So they tried to go into this. They start realizing that fast food profits are declining by anywhere from 8 to 10% each year, and that's because the millennials, they're not down with that kind of food. They're more educated. They listen to social media. So I think for you as an investor, you have the ability to come in and be part of something and help shape it. I'm not only just looking for an investor, but I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for somebody to go with me on this journey, and I think that's hopefully.
I mean, not so much as the financial investor investing in the concept.
Okay.
But the franchise owner. These things live or die on your ability to attract franchise owners. What makes it worth it for somebody to, put in $330,000 to start one of these things?
Sure.
When they might put that cost to just starting one of these things and put a different name on it.
Well, the problem is that a lot of people don't know the process. They don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I said, all these other restaurants that are trying to do pastas, Menino's and everybody, Olive Garden, they've got all this other stuff on there, and so it's all about the procedure of getting the job done. It's all about systems in place, and in the fine dining area, it's all about being prepared for the shift, right? So it's all about getting it all done prior. And that's the success of this model. So everything gets done prior, and as people come in, they just order and we get it out to them. Now, in regard to your question, you know, I just don't see people figuring it out. I just don't. Because if they were to figure it out, they would have figured it out by now.
So your market is not necessarily the fast food market. It's not the full dining experience. It's in between. So it is almost like Panera with a pasta menu.
Well, what it is I'm going to bridge the gap. I'm going to bridge the gap between fast food and fast casual. Okay? Fast casual is the #1 fastest growing market in the restaurant sector right now. It's growing leaps and bounds past fine dining. It's growing leaps and bounds past fast food. Fast food is actually on the decline. And the reason for that is because of social media. The millennials are all into social media. That's what it's about. Facebook, Twitter, all of it. So my goal is to go into this and actually hire a firm to attack social media. We're going to be connected with all of the technology through the millennials. Research shows that more millennials look up websites and restaurants and menus, and you know, and that's how they find out where they want to eat. So
I just have, I'm kind of new, I've been to a couple of these in the past, but I'm kind of new. I just want to throw out thoughts that I have as you're saying this. One of the things you said is we're not going to spend a ton of money doing research for new dishes like Olive Garden does with their Tuscan chef and things. I'm a huge fan of Undercover Boss, and one of the things that you see repeatedly in Undercover Boss is people coming up with great ideas, no matter
Sure.
what the industry, within their industry. So this, I feel like, allows that to happen. The other thing is, I'm obviously not a millennial, but, you know, we have kids that, you know, my kids didn't grow up eating at McDonald's because I didn't let them. There's just, you know, when they went to McDonald's, it was a treat. So I think people are becoming more educated, but as moms, and, you know, now Karen's an empty nester too, like me, but you want to get your kids, you know, you're coming in from soccer practice, lacrosse practice,
Right.
surfing, whatever. You want a healthy meal
right.
that's not going to cost a ton, that you can bring home. And that's when he said Panda Express. I just went there the other day for the first time. And normally you don't want to get out of the car. You just want to get it and go. My other thought that came to mind when you were saying put it in shopping centers. Years and years ago, the only place you could get Chick-fil-A was at the mall. That was it. And I'd go to the mall to get Chick-fil-A. And, you know, over time, they evolved into a drive-through thing. But if you go to Chick-fil-A today, you're gonna get exactly what you got on the Chick-fil-A
Exactly.
menu 25 years ago. They haven't really
Exactly right.
complicated it, other than
Exactly
they've
right.
offered fruit instead of french fries in the kids' meals. So, I think what you're saying is, I think it's getting the systems in place that you're
Correct.
talking about. And that's what Chick-fil-A has done, that's what
Yep.
Panda Express has done, that's what Panera Bread has done. And it's true, you know, I don't like to go to the Cheesecake Factory because I don't want to think about that
Right.
menu. I don't want to look
Right.
for it,
It's
you
too
know?
much.
It's too much. So this is, I personally love this, the
Yeah.
whole concept. Don't overthink it. I think it's
Right.
having it in place and having it, just like McDonald's. Everybody could repeat McDonald's if they wanted to, but it's having it all in place to make it easy for the franchise owners.
I agree. You know, the thing about when you get into the restaurant business, you've got to ask yourself two important questions. Is it a fad? And does it have sustainability? This is not a fad because pasta's been around forever and it's not going anywhere. And it is sustainable. Anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The $300,000. What does it cover? What did you include? on it?
$300,000 is the whole kit, the whole ball of wax. It's all brand new equipment. It's the restaurant. It's rent. It's everything.
Rent for a year?
I'm sorry.
Rent for a year? What's the rent? Like how long rent did you
I've got
calculate?
rent in the business plan at $5,000 a month.
Okay.
So, I'm looking for a minimum of 2,350 square feet.
How many employees are you planning?
We're looking at, let me see here, that's always another big one to pay attention to, but I want to say that 8, 9, 10, you're looking at maybe 15 employees,
That's a lot.
15, 16 employees.
I mean, they take it like a fast
Now,
food
I'm not
or?
talking about full-time kitchen guys, I'm also adding in dishwashers and cashiers and servers, and so it's a 50-seat restaurant.
So this is not gonna be fast food kind of place, like you don't pick up your food, it's gonna be served, but served fast.
It's either or. It's either or. It's just like I said, it's fast food and it's fast casual.
Do you have numbers for percentages?
I do.
Like, you know, like food costs, labor
I
costs?
do. I've got all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I have some experience with fast food business, so we can look
Yeah.
at the numbers, yeah.
I just don't know how much time I have, so. Go ahead.
So a lot of, my sister is younger and she does this, she'll eat Chipotle, Panera, she won't touch McDonald's, you know. So I see that market. The one thing though, I was just gonna ask if you thought of, because this is another thing that's grown as they've grown with this, have you considered the allergy aspect?
Yes.
Because the big thing I see here is gluten.
Yes.
So like, have you thought of that, or dairy, and do you have a way for them,
Now,
because then you kind of cut
On the
them
pamphlet,
out?
if you look at the pamphlet, there's a little article in the back of it that has to say, talking about just that.
Okay, good.
There's research that's been done. All medical research is done in 2 stages. They do the initial investigation and they go through, you know, whatever it is that they're gonna do. And then they have the time period that they wait. So they wait and then they come back 10 years later and they, you know, they tie it up. Well, when everybody's got on this gluten thing about how pasta and everything's bothering their stomach, they found out that that's not always the case. The truth of the gluten situation is this: 1% of everyone in this country, 1% has celiac. That's it. So that means that everyone that thinks that gluten affects them, it's something else. It's not gluten. The research is on the paper, and if anybody wants that, I can get that for them. But
Now, that was 2014. Do you have one that's, have they done one since then?
that was the finish of the case in 2014. That's the gentleman that finished his gluten analysis.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think because like, I don't have a gluten allergy, but I have gluten sensitivity. So if I eat a lot of bread and stuff, my stomach will get upset more.
Sure.
So I tend to avoid it.
Well,
So.
and just for
Or
those
dairy
people
is
that,
another
and
big
again,
one,
it's
peanuts.
I don't know how many people actually have it and how many people it's a psychological thing. I don't know, that's not my department. But I think as a business person, it would be foolish of me not to have gluten pasta also.
Right, yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, good.
Just
I
like
was
that with
wondering
whole
if you
wheat
had
and
considered
everything. The one thing that I learned in the food business is that, you know, there's a couple ways to look at things. People say that the customers are always right. I'm kind of on the fence with that one because I believe what Richard Branson said. You treat your employees with awesome respect and you empower them. That, in a sense, is going to translate in the overall experience for the customer. Okay? And with that, it's my responsibility to have all the things that the customers do want. And part of what I'm doing here is let's give the consumers what they want. They want decent food at an inexpensive price. And that's what this is about. It's about bridging the gap to the #1 growing sector of the restaurant business by leaps and bounds with the one that's on the way out and bring them together. Okay?
How well is Noodles doing?
I'm sorry?
Noodles.
Noodles and Company?
Noodles and Company, they're in
You know what?
Kent, and they're up
Lynn
north.
Haven.
And they're in Virginia Beach and
And
Lynn
Virginia
Haven.
Beach.
I don't know what their numbers are. I don't know how well they're doing.
It's a great place.
You know, I think it's kind of like oodles and noodles, right? I mean, is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
it's called Noodles, and if,
Yeah.
the closest thing I could think, because you didn't list them, but the closest model that you're kind of conveying to me,
Yeah.
sounds like Noodles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Company.
They're
They
pretty
have
much
no more than
all
12
pasta
items on the
dishes.
menu.
And that's, they just,
Yeah.
they just do noodles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, check them out because they're
Another,
exactly
yeah,
what you
and another one
described.
I would check is Pita Pit, because they do.
Pita pit?
Yep, they're like fast casual, but they're all,
Mhm.
like, it's basically pitas, that's all you, pita sandwiches,
Right,
that's it.
right. The reason why I decided to go in this direction is because that, again, data also shows that more people would rather go to restaurants that have a theme that they're attached to than that aren't. And they're finding that that's where people are going. Yes, sir?
Are you looking for equity investment in your company?
I'm actually, in regard to that, I'm looking to partner with somebody, yes, and I'm giving away equity, because again, I don't want an investor, I want a partner to go through this with me. I'm looking for somebody that actually can give me items that I'm weak on, and we can work together and be a stronger team. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a one-show kind of guy thing. Yes, sir.
So where are the weaknesses that you're looking to fill?
My weaknesses are in regard to understanding the marketing aspects and to try to find better avenues to reach out to people and in business. I can tell you how to make fettuccine Alfredo and how to do all that stuff, and I've been in the kitchen. But when it comes time to actually sit down, when we get to that point of thinking seriously about going to the next step, you know, that's where I think I will need the hand.
So what are your current thoughts on how you're going to market this out to the world of folks who are interested in franchising?
Well, for the franchising is I think the first thing we have to do is the first, which is what this is, the first model has to be seamless. In any franchise, you've got to work out all the kinks. You're not going to franchise anything that has problems. It's just not, it doesn't happen. So our first model has to be right. That's why I went with all brand new equipment. That's why I went with it the way that I did. That way we can get a real cost on what it's going to cost somebody to come in as a franchise. At that point, we track it, I would say, probably for a year or so and find out what our numbers look like. If I can do 150, just 150, the place is going to be open from 11 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. We're not closing. We're straight through, okay? Just like fast food. Like I said, we're bridging all that. So we're not closing, we're open all the way, and if I can do 150 people at $25 for the entire day, we're going to be at about, I think we're in the neighborhood of about 35% margin. I believe once the dust settles down and the ball gets rolling, I believe we're going to be at about 175 people a day. At 175 people a day, we're up at about 42% margins. So I think the model looks really good, and I think the important thing is it's about marketing the right way.
Earlier, this is just a suggestion, earlier you were saying you were thinking about putting them around all colleges.
It was just an idea at the beginning, yes.
That's a good idea,
Yeah.
because a lot of times you're running in to get food
Yep.
in between class, but if you do that, I would not close at 11. I would be open until 2, because nobody stays open and everyone has to go to McDonald's and
Yep.
other places. If like Chipotle was open till 2, it would be packed.
If it became a college
Yes.
thing,
I
yeah,
would
I
just
think
test,
you'd
stay
have to
open till
restructure
2.
how you're going to do everything, because you can now got to conform to the college lifestyle.
Yes, quick.
So.
Well, I know that you said that which way you want to go with marketing. Right now, one of the top ways to market is digital marketing. Also, like, when you do plan on getting a marketing team and everything, there's a way to get certs and everything, like Facebook offers certs, and they're $150 a test. But digital marketing is real big. I'm actually marketing for Reliance Medical Transport. Yeah, digital is the best way. It's actually growing a lot faster than putting a sign out there.
Yeah. You know, I think key to all this is hiring a firm. I mean, I can sit here and say that I'm going to do it, or we're going to do it, but that's just, you're being foolish. Again, you're trying to do everything, and I think that's where everybody starts to make the mistake. You got to understand, Marcus Lemones, I love the guy. He's the smartest thing. One of the things I love that he said was, a smart businessman knows what he doesn't know. All right, but you find the answers. And so, in regard to marketing, we're gonna farm it out. I'm gonna hire somebody to do the mass marketing on Facebook, Twitter. They're gonna hit it all, and they're gonna constantly keep feeding it, because that's where the millennials are. That's where most of the people are, and it's gonna draw them in. Yes, ma'am.
having been to Noodles and Company, I sincerely hope you're gonna be several steps above that.
I hope to
Because
be.
it's mush, my experience.
Right.
It was mush, and, yeah, I love pasta,
Mhm.
but I want something besides just the pasta. So looking at your briefly looking at your menu, it looks, there's
Now,
something more than just that.
The bonus that I bring to the table in this deal is that, you know, my whole thing is, I've been in fine dining. I've cooked for Charlie Trotter, I've cooked for Wolfgang Puck, I've cooked for, I mean, I hate to be a name dropper, but I've done all that gambit running around the country. And you work for these fine dining guys and you learn how to do everything right. I bring that to the table, and that's what I did. I went to actually work with the Pasta Bowl in Chicago. That's how I know the system. I've worked with them, and I've ran the business. I've ran every position in this business. And what I've done is I've brought my experience into the fine dining areas and how to improve things, and we've elevated the food up. And that's what we've done there. And so, yes, I hope to be a lot higher than those. Yes, sir. Right behind you.
Franchising is incredibly expensive to set up. You're looking at close to $1 million. I mean, your initial ask is like $330. Stay away from talking about franchising, because until you get the first one built,
Right.
which I agree with your business model, all that. You got a shorter menu. I agree with the college towns. I think it would all work. I think you're trying to throw out too much information. If I'm an investor, I mean, I'm less worried about what you're serving when you say a pasta meal. I mean, obviously, everybody here is eating pasta, and you're gonna have a low food cost. But you start talking about franchising, you better start in the south of the country, because it's much cheaper and it's state by state, but it's about $1 million to do a national franchise, just the licensing and
Sure.
the legal cost.
Right.
So you would scare me off as an investor.
Okay.
When you're only asking for $330, and then you want me to do a lot of damn work. I mean, if I'm throwing up $330,000, I don't need to come work for you.
No.
That's your franchise, that's your all-in franchise cost though, that's not the
Yeah,
setting
right.
up of the franchise.
Correct.
Yeah, but he's looking for a partner to do this with, like a
Well,
co-founder, right? Not
I
an
brought
investor.
up the franchise because I'm trying to show you what my vision down the road is. I'm not necessarily rushing into it, and that's the purpose of designing the first one the way that I've done,
Yeah.
is to get the model together, get it square. And then at that point, if we find that it's a viable investment to go ahead and go into that direction, then we'll move into that direction.
Have you looked at like used kitchen spaces? Because $330,000 for a new startup kitchen. I mean, the Plaza guys, they were famous for going to find an old restaurant, flipping it. Now
Sure.
they have a lot of money. They're
Sure.
building their own restaurants, but going into it, you have an unproven concept. How much are you giving up for $330,000?
$330,000, I'm probably gonna give up almost 80%.
Whoa.
Yeah, way too high.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it anyway. I mean,
Do you
what's
keep
left in it for
investment
you? If there's no, you should keep.
You as an investor wouldn't do
No,
it?
hell no. There's no, I'm putting up all the money, right?
Mhm.
You're coming in, you're doing the majority of the work, because I'm not doing any damn work.
Okay.
And you're not keeping a large enough stake to go on down the road. I mean, if you're gonna franchise this, you've gotta bring in bigger capital.
Yeah.
You guys need to leave some money in pool to raise more capital. I mean,
Well,
that's my 2-cent take.
okay.
Still talking about two different things? I thought $330 was your target price for somebody
It
in the
is.
future to get into the franchise,
But
not
it
for an
doesn't-
investor,
But that's
investor
what-
to buy into the
But
operation.
that's what you need right now to start the first.
330.
Right.
What
okay.
is
But he
the
doesn't know the
opening
future
cost for it
cost.
to open one unit right
Right.
now? If
Say
you
it
want,
one more
if
time.
you wanted to open this right now next to ODU, because we'll pick the college model, it would cost you $330.
330.
So that's where
That
we
has
are.
nothing to do with the franchise.
Nothing to do with the franchise.
I would focus, I think when you threw the franchise,
I think it's
confused
confusing.
me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
So the thing it
apologize.
would be is, you could add it at the end of the present, we, get the first one up, and we're looking, our vision is to franchise
Got
this.
it.
But I wouldn't time so close,
Okay.
because it's
Yeah,
confusing
that's,
everybody.
that came from watching videos after videos after videos and trying to, I didn't know how much time I had to try to explain to people what the vision was and where we could possibly go with it and
But the
all
good
that.
point about it is, if you're looking at investors, they wanna know where you wanna go down the road.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for just a mom and pop shop,
Sure.
they tend to be a little less,
Right.
aggressive and
Right.
less receptive to that.
In
If
the
this
answer,
works, look, you can get through the small real estate networks like John Cassius and his Cassius. They have small real estate guys all over the country, independent real estate guys, that are looking for franchise models. You can franchise this and move this really quick if it worked. I would stay away from the word
Okay.
franchising because you're going to get legal issues if you end up licensing or doing something outside of franchising or
Right.
co-owning or something else. Because initially, even if you get the first one up and it's doing well, you typically need 10, 12 stores up before you franchise it.
and see, this is why I look for somebody to be involved with me that knows this kind of stuff.
I would also recommend that you meet with a franchise attorney. I had years ago, I owned a candy store that we were franchising, Sweet City. So I've been involved with the whole franchising. You should sit down and really meet with an attorney, pick their brain and go, okay, let's talk about
Sure.
what's involved in this.
After
Because I
we
think that
get
would,
successful in the first one.
no, I would do it prior
Really?
to. I mean, if you're seriously thinking about franchising down the road, at least you have an idea of what the expectations are. Even if you don't bring it in the initial meeting,
Okay.
you have a working knowledge of what is going to be expected of you when you do introduce that in.
Okay.
I just think that, somebody mentioned earlier, the legalities of throwing out that word franchise, and you need to make sure that you understand what's going on. I mean,
Right.
it's easy to say the word franchise, and wouldn't this be great to do this?
Sure.
But once you start the process, and again, I went through it with Sweet City, and we had franchises all throughout the country, and the company was bought, blah, blah, blah. But, you need to kind of have a working knowledge of
Okay.
that whole franchise and what you're doing.
The other thing I wanted to, I didn't get a chance to get into with you guys, part of this price point also, and the other genius about this is that, as you can see, the thing that I brought up a minute ago, with the wine sales, last year, 97% of all wine sold in this country was for $9.95 or less. Right? So why are restaurants selling wines in bottles for $50, $130? They're kind of going about it the wrong way. Let's give the consumers what they want. So we'll have 15 to 20 bottles on a wine list at the restaurant, and everything is at $9.95 or less. Take your pick. Yes, sir.
A little off topic, but with this fire in California, what's gonna happen to wine?
Well,
French wine, it's okay.
the bottles that are selling to me, at $5 a bottle, I'm sure they probably make plenty. So it's not going to be, it's not a refined, it's not Height Cellars, 1996. It's not any of that. So
I'll import it.
Have you seen the movie The Founder?
The Founder, I haven't.
You need to watch
Watch
it
that.
because you could make the same play on the possible. Ray Kroc saw that McDonald's was a magic system and it was working, and there were two brothers operating McDonald's. And Ray Kroc came in and basically stole McDonald's from them and turned it into the multi-billion-dollar corporation it is today.
Okay.
If you're-
So-
Yeah, I would. And also, one thing that's important too, like she was saying, me with a franchise attorney, the reason everyone was like, when you said 80% equity, is this is only your first round of
Sure.
funding. So you're gonna need to leave room. If you really wanna grow this, at some point down the line, whether you franchise or just expand, you're gonna need more capital investment to
Of
go
course.
quickly.
Of course.
And if you've already given up 80 for 330,
Nothing
then
else
you're in
to get.
trouble.
Yeah.
Like all yours, or
Right.
that investor's gonna have to drop down. You need to leave room for your plan
Now,
down
I
the
think
line.
we're, when I say 80%, I'm saying 80% of this restaurant.
That scares me even
Yeah,
more.
because the investor, if he's gonna take the chance on you, he's gonna want the payoff down the end. So he's gonna wanna buy into the Pasta Cafe company.
Yeah.
Not just this restaurant, but he's gonna want a percentage of all the Pasta Cafe because he's the one that took the risk on you in the beginning and helped you
Okay,
get your
okay,
MVP. So
okay.
that's what they're gonna want the payoff. So I would think of it as one big company
Right.
and then slice up the pie.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And if you leave 20% on the table for you at the end of the day,
Yeah, that's-
if you go, okay, this isn't working, whatever, you're not walking away from a whole lot at 20%.
Well, so you think that I should ask for less?
Yes.
Yeah.
Way
Okay,
less.
Okay, okay. See,
Like-
my whole thought
like
was this.
20%
My
less.
whole thought was this, is that, I'm coming to it with the experience and the time and to do, and to run the restaurant. the investor or the partner will be coming with all of the financial risk. So my goal was to say that, you know what, even though I'm putting away 20 for me, I'm not touching anything. I'm not gonna touch anything. I don't get $1 of it until that money that you have put in is paid back. But all I'm saying is I want 20 on the reserve for me, because I'm looking down the road. And if you don't want to continue down the road, and you just want to get your money and you want to get out, that's fine too. But you get your money back, or you make whatever it is that you want to make back. I'll get my 20 whenever we are successful.
Maybe you should make a loan then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the issue with that is you have no skin in the game.
Yeah,
Right.
they're taking,
As a
they're
finance
taking, yeah, all the risk.
Investor person,
Well, how would you do it?
all the risk, I would want you to take a majority of that. Because
Yeah.
now you're,
Oh, yeah.
you're not the one that's gonna be left.
Like
with
offer
that.
them 20 or less, 20% or less.
Yeah, the
335.
investor's
Unproven concept.
biggest risk
Yeah.
is your motivation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he wants you to be motivated,
No?
to get rich. And,
Right.
and so he wants you to have,
Yeah.
to have more
Well, if you
than
do it as some of it's
50% of the equity
Right.
in the company, because that is
that.
your personal motivation, to make it work.
You got more to lose.
Yeah. Well, like you just said, you
Sure.
have all the knowledge, they're putting the money in, but if they own 80%, you own 20, and you decide you don't wanna do it anymore, and they don't know how to run it, then
They're out.
they're
not
out,
trying
and
to
you're
run
not losing, yeah.
Pardon me?
They're not trying to run it.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Right.
Yeah, nobody here, if any of us had the money, we're giving you the money, we're not trying to run that shit. We all have something to do today,
Right, right.
whatever.
You know, I'm looking at it from a standpoint that, I've been in the business, I've been doing it, I see what works, I see what doesn't work. How many people go in the restaurant business, and you get in the restaurant business with somebody that doesn't have a clue, or their dream was to always open a restaurant? They've never worked in the industry, they've never done any of this, but they go into it anyway. And I believe with me, I'm bringing a vast amount of knowledge and everything over the last 30 years of being in the restaurant business.
So
Work with
your
different-
technical expertise is not being questioned at all.
Right,
Right.
That's what you have.
right.
Right,
You gotta put that into your salary or whatever you're
Yeah.
gonna take as your form of payment.
Right.
But that's, as an investor, tell you what, I'm not putting 80% down to
Yeah.
have you, 6 months from now, say, hey, you know what, Julian? Thanks,
Okay.
but no thanks, I'm out. And then I'm the one.
Sure.
yeah, you need, I would personally recommend 50% or more for now. And then when you go to round funding in the future, you can set up however you wanna do, like maybe the equity comes from yours, then you drop to 30 or whatever. But you need to have at least half the skin in the game as the
No, I think
investor
even
for them to
more.
feel comfortable.
Put some options in there where you pay back the investor, it drops the percentages.
Yeah.
So you can raise capital at a later date.
Okay.
If not, you're done, because nobody's gonna give you the money and do all the damn work. I mean, they're right, I mean, if you don't have enough skin in the game, I'm not investing in it.
I just thought it was the right thing to do, give the person
But
that's
you
put
know
more
what?
money in
Keep it
it.
simple.
It's
Keep
nice.
it simple.
It's not
It
like,
sounds
it's not
nice,
like, yeah,
But
rational.
it sounds nice, but,
Yeah.
it's, and again, Karen knows what my background is. It sounds nice, it's pleasant, but it's business.
Okay.
And I own ownership in 13 self-storage facilities all throughout Virginia. I've worked my rear end off to build a company I sold a few years ago. That's another long story. But, it sounds nice, but what I've learned, and I was a cute little 26-year-old blonde naive person. That's nice. It's business. And at the end of the day, it's business. And like he said, if you've got 20% in the game and you're walking away in 6 months because you're exhausted and you don't want to do it, you're not getting my money. So, I think talking with an attorney, talking with some investment people, and just kind of really listening to what strategies are out there. Because we know you come with the knowledge, but we're also, if I'm investing, I'm gonna expect you to run the ship.
Sure,
It's
sure.
Bottom line.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, in 10 years, if you have 100 stores around the country, you're gonna be the one walking away with the money too, and not just, we
Sure.
expect you to have the skin in the game
Well,
all the way.
I'm open to all that, absolutely. I just thought that would be the best way to do it in regard to,
But again, I think you've got, obviously, the knowledge of running a restaurant. And that's what you have. I think what you, and one of the reasons you're here today, you need to go and meet with some experts and talking to them about franchising and talking to them about investing and talking to them about, you know, how to play out what your ownership is and what you give away and what you keep. I think that's going to help you perfect the front end of this, because if
Okay.
you don't do it right now, before you walk into this, you're gonna screw yourself later on. And that's, you know, you don't wanna walk in and do like the McDonald's brothers did 10 years from the road and you have nothing,
Right.
you know.
Also, if you're like at home at night, Shark Tank is a great way to watch how they calculate
I do,
valuations.
that's the other thing, it's like, you know, I sit there and I watch it, and I watch these people come on, and now, the only reason why I thought that they were doing what they were doing, you know, percentage-wise, equity-wise, was because they already had a store front operating, or the business was already operating kind of a situation, where mine has yet to get off the ground.
Well, there's one thing. If you go with 20%, let's say you found somebody, and actually it is coming that, you know, the people that give money is gonna offer, okay, I want 80% of the company. But in a very short time, you are gonna get tired of this, and it's not gonna motivate you. So actually, for 50-50, if you are going with a partner, I highly recommend 50-50.
Okay?
You put some money, they put some money, or you do all the work, they put all the money. But you have to define the money very strictly, and then you know that you can develop with that person. Of course, if that person has business knowledge, it will help you, because then, you know, well, I think you are good in running the restaurant, but I don't think that you owned a restaurant before, right?
Well, I have been a partner with somebody. I've actually.
Did you do the finances?
I did not.
See, that's the weak spot you have. You need somebody that actually ran a business, a restaurant business especially, because it's different than anything else. And then you can understand the numbers, how it works.
How long is your pitch deck?
How long, what?
This pitch deck that you're presenting over.
I came here, I didn't know how much information, I thought I had 20 minutes.
Do you have a pitch deck? Are you giving investors a pitch deck?
What is a pitch deck?
Why don't you talk to Karen? Karen can help you,
That's a
right, Karen?
presentation.
Okay.
Got nothing to do today.
I showed Karen how to say no, so
Let's
just
do,
wait.
Charles, you have the last question.
Okay, last one.
You're welcome.
One way to, another aspect of understanding this 80-20% thing and why people kind of scream is, if an investor has 80% in the pot and you have to go out and get more money, we have a word called dilution.
Sure.
He's gonna take the dilution,
Evaluates the
hits bigger
stocks,
than you
yeah.
are,
Right.
and he already sees his ownership,
Going down.
lessening.
Okay.
That's what I was saying, because there's no, he's gonna take the hit, because
Right.
you don't really have any more.
And I've been noticing also that
lose.
there are things in the deal, when you do the deal, you have to figure out what happens if somebody in the partnership dies.
Yes.
Buy-sell agreement.
Where does
Yes.
where does
Lawyer.
the equity, when the person leaves, where does that go?
Yes.
Your operating documents will
Yes.
cover all that.
You want me to
Well-
Get a buy-sell agreement if you have a partner.
But
Highly
All right.
recommend.
Yeah.
And last question of the day is, what can 1 million cups do for you?
Well, 1 million cups, you've already given me a lot of information, and I appreciate it. I'm just gonna have to just keep getting better at what I'm doing. So,
And we have for you a cup of, for your future,
Thank you very
almost
much.
another 1 million cups of
Appreciate it.
coffee as you go through every
thank
Wednesday
you very
morning.
much. Thank you
Thanks for
very
being
much,
here today.
everybody.
And Julian, sorry Julian, one of our newest organizers.